We're going to show you how to make tiny homes today. It's monsoon season here in Thailand, which means there's loads of rain. That's why I'm dressed like this. You can see that the rain, everywhere's flooded at the moment. We help street dogs and they have so many dangers on a daily basis. One of them is somewhere to shelter for the rain. So this is tiny houses for street dogs.
Monsoon shelters for the street dogs. Essentially these were the versions we made when we had way more time and the weather was good, and so they're a little bit more technical, but now, as you can see by the weather, we're urgently trying to pump out as many of these blue ones here as we can, given the time and the weather. Like a lot of us, we can't sleep at night knowing there's street dogs out there that desperately have nothing. Some of them are on tethers, and unfortunately they've got a tree for shelter. It's just really hard to sort of think about the dogs that are struggling during the rain. Now these are blue barrel ones. As you can see, it's a bit like a studio apartment. They've got the living room at the front so they can peek out. A lot of the dogs put their chin on here, and at the back's the sleeping quarters. So
Yeah, I don't know if you can appreciate the strength of that rain, but when it rains here, it really rains. And the dogs are very good at finding places to hide, but there's certain times we still have to go out. There's puppies, there's old dogs, there's dogs who need medicine mainly is the reasons we have to go out. So unfortunately, it's time to go out in this absolute, I don't even know what to call it. It's a downpour of the highest degree. Ooh. Looking after the dogs. Huh? 6 dogs she found, and she's been keeping them in this little shelter. This lovely lady's been looking after them, so that's the reason that they're alive, and that the reason they've got the shelter is because of her. Done well with your shelter in there, haven't you? So you can see this guy is really suffering. You can see his skin here, probably a skin disease, but his fur is starting to fall off. He's also got a huge cut here, which could be caused from anything. It could be some sort of skin disease. He also might have got a little whack from a car. But the bad weather is really not doing him any favours because he's absolutely soaked. So this is the reality of the street dogs being outside. So this is why we try and give them some shelter. It really is it's an impossibly hard life for them.
If the dogs go in there and they're already soaking wet, we put a series of drain holes at the bottom, and the barrel's elevated so no water can actually go in, it can only drip out. And we've got ventilation holes at the top. If it happens to get too hot in there, the air can get pumped straight out the back as well. On average, one of these blue ones here, like this one, can take anywhere from about 35 to 50 minutes. Some of them have a single entrance while others have double, so they need a double cover on the top. So some are longer than others, but that's the rough time frame. In terms of cost, we got the barrels for about $5 each. We've got a whole stack of them, and we're trying our best to use 100% of the barrels. We use pretty much all the offcuts for props, for the covers, things like that. So essentially the total barrel for one of these houses is about $5, $6 a pop. Yeah, when the weather's really bad, can't help but sort of feel really good that we're able to place, at the moment, I think when we're finally done, about 40 barrels all around the island for different dogs. Yeah, so that helps a lot of us sleep at night. At least we're doing something for the dogs that are really struggling.
All right, driver.
All good.
One thing that would help us massively is if you hit the subscribe button just down below. It's a wet day, so coming home to a few subscribers after this video at the weekend would be a lovely feeling. Stitch is the only one who's out here with me. There's lightning, it's pouring down, so a little subscribe would cheer all our spirits right up. Now this dog is a very, very old girl. She lives down here beside a reservoir. It's completely flooded, but luckily she's got a little place to live. It's a radio station, and they let her live in basically on the front steps. But the dogs have such a hard time that just a few treats for her. She's well fed, but as I said, she's very thin, she's old, she's a little bit blind. I'd say 80% blind. When the weather's so bad and everything's so tough, I think it's nice to just give them a little lift. It doesn't take long to stop and give them a couple of treats, and I think that makes their day for them.
The building site manager. What do you think, mate? What do you think? Are we good?
Now you can see, luckily down here at the land, we've got really good shelter and it's incredibly important. The entire place is flooded and you can see the only dogs who actually want to get up are the little teenagers. So Tommy, Solo, Stitchy's over there. Everybody else stays in their beds because it's just too wet. I mean, the flooding is just crazy. Now we're in what we call our suites here at the land. These are little kennels for the dogs. These are a level up from the tiny homes. And the reason we have these is because there's dogs like Shaq, who is a street dog, but he had a huge operation, which you can see here. And the moisture from that and the just general dampness would be terrible for him trying to heal. So when we have dogs who really need it, we can bring them here to one of these lovely suites. And Shaq is never going back on the streets. He's actually getting his own forever home. But Shaq actually used to live on the streets. He just had a tiny little bit of shelter on a veranda outside somebody's sort of a disused house. But if Shaq had to recover on the streets, his wound would be infected for sure. So it's not a tiny house for Shaq. He's in a level up in his own private suite. It is a massive challenge to get these barrels ready. We probably should have been prepared for the rainy season, but there's just so much going on with the dogs that's not always easy. So we have lots more barrels came in over here. They're about $5 each. They sort of go into an assembly line here where they get cut, and Rod was trying different prototypes. But with the rain down here, Rod and Lana are out dropping barrels at the moment. There's where the next ones get made. They have to be cleaned out, they have to be prepped, it does take a little bit of work, and the rain slows everything down. So we're getting as many done as we can. There's about 4,000 to 5,000 dogs, we think, from a survey on Koh Samui. Most of them have shelter, but these barrels are very much for the dogs who can't find shelter and really need a little helping hand in life. So it's been a long day. We've built the tiny homes for dogs. There's as many of them out there as we can. Not all of the dogs will go in immediately. Some of them will be used, some of them won't. The dogs might find better shelter. They might have no shelter and be very happy for them. But it does something for us as well. It's like when we go to sleep now and the rain is smashing down on our own roofs in our houses, you kind of feel a bit better about yourself that the dogs have got a little fighting chance. It really is just a daily battle on an ongoing basis. Like I'm looking at my moped now and it's stuck in the muck. We have to sort of push that out of the muck. We're drenched, a nice hot shower, but at least the dogs are nice and cozy in their little tiny homes. Oh, Mr. Floofer.